Awesome. Well, Harry, glad to have you on today. I know we first connected in person, which is rare for the D2C space to meet in person for the first time versus Twitter or LinkedIn or something. But first met in person at a Foxwell Founders event in San Diego. Was that last year? Was that this year?
No, I think it was January, right?
January of this year. Okay. So I'm glad to have you on. I know we talked about having you on a while back, but glad to have you on. If you could just introduce yourself for the show, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Uh, I'm Harry. Don't know what to introduce myself as. Worked at a creative agency before called MHI Media. I was a partner there. Left there, then worked as like head of growth for like an eight-figure brand for a few months, and now have just opened up my own shop.
And you're focused solely on creative at your shop?
Uh, Predominantly, I am, yeah, but like I also started it with my partner, who I think you met in San Diego as well. So she's on like the retention side, and I'm just
Okay.
doing more like, and she does like a bit of ops and stuff on my side as well, because I'm super unorganized, and that's never been my like strong suit. But yeah, she's like focused on retention and that kind of stuff, and then I'm more doing like yeah, front end ads, and then also like pre-sale page like copy. I don't like build it, but like just like listicles, advertorials, that kind of jazz.
Awesome. And so creative, probably going to be a big part of our talking points today. I know I told you before we got started, I went through and looked at some tweets you've put out. For anybody that's listening that doesn't follow Harry on Twitter, definitely go give him a follow. He puts out a ton of great like documents and PDFs to share with your team, but also just good information. So I have a lot of good things to go off here. And I know one thing you said in a tweet was just talking about how the ad games got more sophisticated, and it's a lot easier for brands now, or not brands but agencies brands now, to make ads that are just average now that could have popped off 2 or 3 years ago. Personally, from my perspective, I think copying competitors is a very common thing, and I think AI has just kind of perpetuated that, especially as certain like creative board tools and stuff open up API and just kind of promote copying more and more versus creating net new. What do you think separates agencies from being able to create successful ads now versus just average ads?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think like kind of like touching on like the sophistication kind of thing, because like I started kind of like getting involved in like ads, like I'd say like post iOS 14 or whatever it was, like that one. But I remember people telling me like before that you could just like grab like a product image, put it on Facebook, and it would just like rip at like a five ROAS, you know what I mean, or whatever, insane numbers. And then I feel like that like forced creative to like you had to be better then, right? But then it's like you could just do like, and then if you're doing like a simple three reasons why or whatever, or just like simple USP call out statics, and obviously they still work now. But like back then, that was just like holy shit! Like this is so new. This is like, and then obviously it's just become more and more sophisticated. But yeah, I mean, like obviously all the you've got like Atria, foreplay, all that stuff, and I do think that like really promotes like a copy and paste. And you hear about like all these DTC brands that are like the ridges, the hexclads, and you're like wow, they're nine figures, they're crushing it. And I think all these kind of like um, these apps and softwares really like promoted people to like copy that, and that like works to a point. So I think what really makes a difference in creative agencies now is like people who can make content that people actually enjoy watching. Like when I go into like ad accounts or whatever, it's just like you see these like USP static headlines and stuff like that, but like it will be like the ugliest static ever that's actually like carrying the account or whatever. Like not saying those don't work, but it's just stuff about like making content that really does show up on people's feeds, because it's like if it's saturated for us, it's saturated for them. It's my kind of thought process. Is people can like look at like organic TikTok content, YouTube short stuff, and then like recreate that stuff. That's like the people that I see like doing the best, focusing on the organic feel with like a hint of like direct response. Like you see like the Rosabella Moringa people, like that's like their forte, and they've like absolutely done like insane numbers in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, honestly, some of the best performing content we're seeing in accounts right now is taking organic posts that did well and just putting them in the ad account. So just graduating in there. and then also partnership ads. And I know I've seen some people in the Twitter space talking about partnership ads, and so I think I've seen you talk about that, but also you've been talking about whitelisting ads recently. So like partnership being running from an influencer's page, but if I define it the same way as you, whitelisting, like creating a page, like if you're selling wall art, then create like a home decor something Facebook page or Instagram page and just running it from that.
Yeah, I think like obviously partnership ads are great and like definitely recommend everyone to use them, but like it comes at a cost, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to pay these like creators or these influencers to do that. And I think there's like a lot of brands that maybe like can't do that, or they wanted to kind of like they see the stuff and they want to dip their toes in. So that's why I kind of mentioned that page. It's just like it's a free way you can do it. You literally go into your business manager, create the page, make it relevant, create like a little logo, and even still that has like a massive impact on just like what I found, like, especially like, I know it doesn't matter so much, but like click through rate, cost per click, and then ultimately CPA as well. And it takes like 2 minutes and you don't have to like pay someone. So that's why I kind of like started posting about that, because I think it's like very easy to be like, oh yeah, go get a partnership one, spend like an extra, like whatever. I mean, like, because the prices vary on it so much as well. Like some people are like really reasonable, some people like charge like, they're trying to ask for like thousands. And like sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
value is there, but yeah. So that's why I kind of posted about that, because like, enough people are saying that. I'm like, yeah, you can do it for free as well.
When you're doing whitelisted ads, do you as the agency own that page or do you get the brand to own it?
Yeah, it's tough. Sometimes like you will encourage a brand to, because I never like to own assets over a brand. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, like you hear like agencies who like own the ad account and stuff like that, which is like I don't even know how that still happens. It's insane. So I'll always encourage the brand to like make it themselves. But if they won't, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I'll just go make it for you and we'll just do it our end and then, run it. But like, I would always prefer the brands own their own assets, like, especially if it does really well. And like, for whatever reason, they wanted to go like elsewhere, they can still use that page rather than us being like, no, we have that now and like, have leverage. So yeah, I always try and convince them to, but as I'm sure you know as well, like sometimes brand owners are just like, they don't see the value in it because it's like, they're just like, oh, whatever, I'm not interested.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. And for an agency or for a brand that wants to try that, it's easy to hear an idea and think like, oh, well, I could have to do this and this and this, and that could take a long time. Um, do you feel like, so you said make a page, put a profile image. Do you feel like you need followers on the page? Do you need previous content? Like, do you need any social proof, or can you just rip it with ads?
I mean, some people say you like need to like warm it up. You can warm it up with like you can just do like a like or follow thing for like
Mm-hmm.
literally like $2-3 a day and just do that for like 5 days. But I've just ripped it before,
Okay.
and it's just like from day one, like because it's really in the name as well. You know what I mean? Like the name and the logo. So there was like one we did where we had like I think like warmed it up maybe for like a week or something. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just made another one as well because I was just like, I don't know, I think I could do a better name than that. That would like resonate with people more. Because like their one, like the name that they had, so I think this is really important as well. Is like it wasn't super overt to like what the ad would be or like the demographic we're like trying to call out. So I literally just changed the name to like living with X problem. And then
Okay.
he just did that out the gate and that performed like instantly better. Like we didn't warm it up and it instantly performed better than the other like whitelist page.
So ideally, the name of the page kind of relates to either the problem or the ICP.
Yeah, it can do. I think there's so much nuance to that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if I went in and tested it more, I might see different stuff. Like, I see loads of people do like, you know, I obviously like wouldn't just recommend this to put out there, but they do like fake doctor like pages, you know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they'll like do like an AI like woman or whatever. Like, I'm not going to recommend people do that because I'm pretty sure that's like fraud.
Illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I see people do that as well, and then like, obviously it crushes. But so yeah, I think there's like nuance to it, but I think like, yeah, I would start with calling out some kind of like demographic you want, like you just want them to see this and be like, oh yeah, this is for me. Like the same way you'd make an ad where you want your
Hmm.
audience to go, cool, yeah, this is for me. You see the name and you go like, okay, yeah, this relates to me. I want to know more about this, or like I can at least relate to this pain, or whatever.
Yeah, I asked because so we're working with a drug rehab to try and get people who need to get off drugs into the rehab. So we've been looking at ways that we can improve lead quality and getting people in. And I think whitelisting could be a good opportunity. We as an agency, we've done partnership ads. We haven't done, excuse me, whitelisting here as of late recently. So yeah, I'm just thinking through how we could do that, but that's interesting.
I guess that could be like that would be like a tricky one. Like I feel like I mean I have no context about that, but like the client or whatever. But I
Mm-hmm.
imagine people with like rehab or whatever, you would like want to create like a whitelisting page where it doesn't come across like preachy or anything like that, and it feels like, oh, this
Yeah.
is a group full of people like me, and it's more
Mm-hmm.
like, rather than being like you need to get better, it's just like, oh, this sounds like a group of people that have been through what I've been through, and this is just them trying to like help rather than like blame or whatever.
Yeah, my thought was it would be like veterans, like something related to veterans and like the experience, or like parents with kids that are dealing with addiction, those types of
Mm.
things. No, that's interesting. Well, that's something I'm going to definitely share this with our team so we could see what we could do there. Um, Creative volume is the term for 2025. I'm interested to see what 2026's term will be, but creative volume has been the term for this year. Where do you stand on volume versus quality? Can you have both as an agency working with a new client? Do you feel like one takes priority over the other?
Yeah, I've got like, so obviously if I had to pick one, I would pick to do something like better. I'd always pick like, if I had to pick, I'd be like, well, I'd rather have less, but it'd be like really high quality. But if you can do quality at scale, like that's also in my head like the ideal situation. I think like what you probably want to do as like an agency or brand is just like have like set formats and like messages and like, say if you're an agency onboarding a brand, you've got like a big list of like formats and angles that have worked well for you, right? That you can like replicate across certain like different niches. Like say, okay, like okay, this ad format has like worked well across every niche I've done. Okay, so like when I onboard someone, I'm just gonna go do that. And you can do that on scale at scale and like do a lot of volume and like have good like you're betting that it's going to work and like 7 times out of 10 it will like get decent results, so then you can spend more time on doing like the big net new swings, trying something new that the account hasn't seen before, because like ultimately as an agency, depending on how you position yourself, like you can position yourself as just like full net new big swings. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you paid for whatever. But like for like most of us doing performance, is like you need to come in, get decent results from the get go, or you're gone. So I think, and that's still beneficial for brands because like, you still can bring in like because like so many different agencies have like different playbooks, or like they have like different ads that they deploy that have like different looks and feels, and you can do that at scale. But then you can just spend more time doing like writing like those banger scripts maybe, and like spending that like extra hour or two like trying to find like a really good authority to partner with and like writing really like good prompts and scripts for them. So I think you want to do both, but I think like a lot of people just fall into this kind of like slop at scale. Whereas like I think the stuff you want to be doing at scale is just like multiplying your previous winners across all clients and new
Yeah.
clients.
Do you you say multiplying previous winners across clients? Do you ever like say you work with three skincare brands and you bring on a new skincare brand as part of your onboarding or audit? Do you look at other accounts that have similar ICP or similar product type and try to see what you could replicate for quick wins?
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, like you always have like a bank of like your winners, right? But it might even be
Hmm.
something like different, like you know, um, I think I first got put onto this by like Sarah Levenger, where it was just like like targeting like mind states or whatever, or like there's like stuff like Esteem and whatnot, and I just noticed like for example, Esteem worked really well in like fashion ads. So like, okay, we're gonna come on. When I come on, we're gonna try and find clips that really talk about how confident they feel
Mm.
all the time, and then you're gonna make a mashup around that. So it's like even stuff you can do with that, like what emotions work really well in our niches, and do I have like a playbook around that? Okay, cool. I know people feeling confidence, and like obviously in clothing that makes a lot of sense. Then you just kind of do that across all, and I guess you could do that in like beauty. But then yeah, I think it's like you also got to be careful as like if the brand has like the same like target audience, and they're like competitors, it's like tough to like just be like I'm gonna do that ad for both. But if
Mhm.
it's like different products and like or different target audience, then like yeah, just gonna replicate it across.
You just described exactly what humans have as an advantage over AI, which I think needs to be talked about more, which is like AI is very good at large data set interpretation. When I say large data set, I mean like hundreds of millions of rows of data, like finding pattern recognition and then calling that out, right? Humans are good at, I worked with this one brand or I worked with these two brands in the past. I learned this from it. Esteem worked well with fashion, and I learned that it worked well with this gender and this age range and this product type, etc. I'm going to try to do that for this brand as well and see how it performs. That's what AI is very bad at. And that's why a lot of times you'll get like overgeneralized recommendations for strategy from AI versus like what a human can actually output.
Yeah, I mean, AI things like interesting because it's just such like swings and roundabouts. People like one week are like it's gonna come for all of you, and then the
Yeah.
next week it's just like oh yeah, like every creative agency is like doing AI slop or like whatever. But yeah, no, I agree. I think, and I don't know. I think people use, in my opinion, like AI kind of wrong in that sense as well. Like I think they try and use it to kind of like create everything rather than just be like, so it's like, for example, like what I'm working on it a load now as well is like, how can I get it to do loads of like data collection for like research for me rather than so like for example like I do it a lot with like Reddit right now where I get it just to scrape Reddit for me based on keywords, but then I still read through the reports that it gives me. So it's like you still save like 45 minutes, like depending on how far like the rabbit hole you're going to go, but you're still like doing the manual parts, but you're just trying to shave like half an hour blocks off or like hour blocks off, like get it to like scrape like organic TikToks in like the niche or whatever, so I can find out like what content. So rather than me like searching up, screen recording it, putting it through Gemini or whatever, like you can just get it to do all that manually, but then you like automatically, but then you still have like that kind of part where you're doing things like manual. But I feel like everyone's just trying to outsource like everything to it. And like going back to your question, this is like the biggest moat I think that agencies like have right now, especially as creative, is just like spending like 10% more time on something or putting in 10% extra effort because like naturally as humans we want to just like outsource all of our thinking to like AI because thinking is painful. It causes like discomfort, especially if you're like, oh, I can't figure this out. So you'll just take this thing that sounds okay and run with it because like that's less painful than doing the extra 10%. So I think like obviously that's going back to there and kind of like derailed maybe what you asked. But yeah, I don't know. I've got lots of thoughts of like advertising and AI and think like a lot of people like are using it right, but there's also a lot of people that like trying to outsource like too much. And then you can see that in the results they're getting. And like, I think like the general kind of like dissatisfied, I can't even say that word. Just like how dissatisfied a lot of brands seem to be with creative agencies at the moment.
Yeah, I think the way I always frame it is try to figure out what the junior level of a role would do. So, junior creative strategist, junior media buyer. AI can replace most of that right now. So, like data collection and aggregation, uh, like putting together reports, like to a degree. But when it comes to actually like thinking through next steps and strategy and stuff like that still needs to be in a person's court. Like that still needs to be something a person is doing.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I guess there's like a lot of people talk about copy as well. I think for me, the thing I struggle with it the most is probably like, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's like headlines. Like I can get it to write like Claude to write a pretty good script in like, not very much time at all. But and it really depends on like the context you give it. So like, I think like you've got to be making like, custom Claude projects, like kind of like how I do it and know how other people do it is like you make one per like asset type. So like I'll have one that's like a script writer for like, like AI voiceovers, say, and then like I give it like loads of different modules to then like potentially like run through. So I think it's like one of them I played around is like has like 8 modules, but it only use like 3 at a time to not like overload it. Like you put all like the CSVs in there, you give it like persona, um, context, and then kind of like give it some like winners or whatever, just so it can like do that. And I think like if you do that, you can get like a pretty good script in like 10 minutes after that. And then it's just a case of like, being like, oh, make the unique mechanism metaphor, or like, working on the hook. And then that's pretty much, you can just do that and then spend your time there. So yeah, I don't know what you found, but like I found like still with like the copywriting is like so many people are like, oh yeah, it can't produce good copywriting. I think if that's your firm belief, then you're probably not giving it the right context. But then the only one I still can't seem to crack is like the headlines. It just still
Headlines.
just
Yeah, I do think it. I think it's easier to correct someone else's work than to start from a blank page, which I think is one benefit of AI, is because it does help, regardless of if you're using its 100% complete end result for like headlines or whatever. It is beneficial to use that as a jumping off point. Have you found that that's helpful to at least like get the headlines or get the copy, and then like you go through and change it versus like trying to start completely fresh, or do you start fresh?
I think it depends on the day, honestly. Like I go through like weeks where like, I always try and make some effort to like write ads completely from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Um I don't know, maybe people say like that's stupid or whatever, but like, like at least like, once per week, I just have a day where I'm writing all the headlines myself, I'm writing all the scripts myself, just to keep myself like, keep keep my mind
Keep those
sharp. Kind of
muscles
like, yeah,
moving.
because it's like then I know how to like copy Chief Claude or whatever, you know what I mean? And if I can write like a banger without AI, then I know I still got it. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, sometimes, but like a lot of the times I use it just to like you said, like it's like a springboard, and then I'll just like give it like very minor tweaks, because like honestly, I think for like AI voiceover stuff, it's not hard to like get it pretty much like an 8 out of 10 instantly if the context is right. Um, but then with static headlines, I still don't use it a ton, just because like I don't know, it's just the results aren't like
Tough to do.
amazing yet. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to check when this episode's going to come out. We're currently recording it September 19th. We said creative volume was the keyword or the buzzword for 2025. What do you think is going to be the industry's buzzword or focus for 2026?
I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever made a prediction that was right. So uh, I'm not going to 2026. I think it's just going to come back. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's going to come back to quality, because everyone's talking about quality now. Like I feel like every tweet I see or like whatever, like, oh, I think it's like, obviously the algorithm kind of like favors just, blanket statements. But I think, with the kind of like, and this is what kind of like prompted me to start a creative shop as well. It's just like, it seems very saturated, but like with the amount of like complaints I think people have, I also think it's kind of brands that have done this as well, because they've asked for so much volume too. Like you've kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I made a tweet about this. So I was like, I actually think brands should be responsible for most of their volume, because
I
like
saw that. Yeah.
if you can copy and paste like the formats that work well, and you can produce that on mass volume, like surely you'd want like the experts to come in to make that harder content that could unlock that scale. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
I think basically brands are like, and I'm not even like talking shit on brands, because that's the people that hire me.
Yeah.
So that's not what I'm doing. But like, it doesn't make sense to me to like favor getting people to like mass produce stuff and
That
like
you can already
almost
do.
shove them into like middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, like kind of like ad concepts. Because like I'm sure you've gone into some ad accounts and you'll see like 3, 4 agencies in there, and they're all just doing like bottom of funnel content on like
Mm-hmm.
mass scale. Like whether it's like an offer about like a voiceover, or offer on like a um like static, like, because that's really easy to produce at volume. But then as soon as you start trying to do like the real diverse creative stuff that takes for, and like maybe you're trying to like unlock a new persona, and you're like trying to like write a banger script that's gonna like spend like hundreds of thousands, like I think that's really hard to do at scale. um I don't know if many people are doing it. Maybe they are, but I feel like you need some like really solid operations for that. So I think like, yeah, I think brands and agencies are much to blame for that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to come back round next year, and then like it'll be the case. Like, and I think it really depends on like how AI develops as well. Because I'd be really interested to see like a brand's going to be asking, or like agencies going to be like going back more into human content, or are we going to see
Hmm.
like the absolute, dive into like AI content? Because there are a lot of people doing AI creators at scale,
Hmm.
but it's yeah, I think personally you're going to see like brands wanting agencies to be producing higher quality work and like more thought out, and but I could be wrong. But that's
I was,
basically why that's me being biased because that's what I'm trying to do.
yeah, I
So
was just talking with two agency owners in a group chat yesterday, and it was interesting. They were talking about how they're going to test shifting from a monthly retainer to focus on like, here's the creative amount we'll give in 3 months. Like this is just focus on quantity of creative over a period of time. And what you just said made me kind of piece that together with what the chat was yesterday. Of almost, it feels like the monthly retainer model might limit the ability for agencies to come in and focus on achieving a goal of unlocking a new winning concept or unlock a new winning ICP, because it's very much about like, what did you do for us this month in terms of performance and spend towards ads and stuff like that. So I'll be interested to see if agencies also start to pivot towards like more goal based partnerships versus like monthly retainer, if that makes sense.
yeah, and I think that probably comes back to the thing that I was thinking about earlier is like do the like do the stuff that can like work well, like, and you've got like proven stuff now and it's like easy to
Mm-hmm.
make. Do that at scale because like I said, when you come on and you're like hedging your bets to like produce some like ads that are going to do
Quickly.
decent, yeah, quickly, you
Mm-hmm.
can do that. But then like you've got to make sure you spend time on like the top of funnel content. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't, I don't think it's like one or the other. You got to make sure you do both. And then that way, like still the retainer model can work really well. Or like, and I always do like a monthly minimum, but like everything I do is like percentage of spend,
I
like
remember you saying that.
performance based, because like I want to come in and be incentivized to make like, a six-figure banger. You want me to do that, but also like I'm not really incentivized to do that if I'm only going to get like 5 grand a month or whatever. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like I want to get paid like 10K plus for that as it like scales up. Because if it unlocks that scale, then I think you should pay the person who makes it. And to be fair, pretty much every brand I spoke to is absolutely fine with that. So I think I don't know how many do you because yeah, what do you do? Do you do like a percentage spend model as well, or you just flat retainer?
We have not. We've done flat retainer. After talking with you in San Diego, I thought about it. I haven't put action to it, which we're almost a year, so I'm kind of lagging on there. But it's an interesting thing to test out that I still think we should on our end.
Yeah, because I think it's like I'm always like about like setting intentions and stuff like that. And like I think like even though it sounds like maybe a bit like fucking woohoo or whatever, but it's just like if you go into it going like, okay, if I make a six-figure banger, I'm gonna get paid for
Mm-hmm.
that. Then you're going in with the incentive to do that, rather than like if you go in, you go like, okay, if I make a six-figure, seven-figure banger or whatever, spend banger, like I'm just gonna get paid the same. And I think like whether we realize it or not, like just having that intention is going to change how you view the ad account
Strategy and
so much.
everything.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
I'll work on a Saturday or like do whatever like in the accounts because it's just like if I unlock that next big thing, like I could get paid like a lot for it, and that's like still beneficial for both of us. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why I do it because I feel like it just sets the intention of just like I'm gonna make a banger.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. Um, well, what's the name of your new shop? What's the name of your new agency? How do people get in contact with you? And what type of brands are you working with?
Yeah, so it's actually called Roly Poly Digital. I haven't announced it yet at all. Fun fact about how that name came up. It was actually Andrew Foxwell's daughter Nora who came up with that name.
Oh,
So,
really?
shout out Nora, man. Yeah, she just came up with it, so I was just like, yeah, I'll call it that. Um, how to get in contact with me? I guess like Twitter. I don't know when this will like air, but like as of right now, I don't unfortunately like have any space. But that might change when this comes out. That's why I'm not posting at the moment because I'm just like I can't like take anything on, and like I feel like the last thing I'd want the brands to see who just started working with me is me just like posting all the time, trying to get leads, rather than them being like, "Why is this guy not in our account doing work, man?"
Mm.
So yeah, again, like I don't know how when this will air, and that might be different by then because I'm like working on onboarding some new stuff and whatnot. But yeah, just Twitter. I don't know. I don't even know what my handle is on Twitter. I think just Harry Delmage. Um, there's a photo of me and my cat, so that's how you'll recognize it, I guess.
Well, Harry, I appreciate you coming on, sharing all this insights. I walked away definitely with something we can do for whitelisting for that one client, but I'm sure listeners walked away with a lot as well. So I appreciate you coming on and look forward to staying connected.
Yeah, no, all good, man. It's been a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you very soon.